Hello, my name is Itlali Valenzuela Hernandez, and today I will be talking to you about the Salem Witch Trials. The Salem Witch Trials were basically a series of hearings and prosecutions against people who were thought of using witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between the years 1692 and 1693. Some say that the witch trials were tied to xenophobia, which is a fear of foreigners or strangers, religious extremism, and long-brewing social tensions between families and colonists back in those days. I will get back to this later. So, how did it start? Um, in 1689, English monarchs William and Mary started a war with France in the American colonies, which damaged regions such as New York, Nova Scotia, and Quebec. This sent refugees living in these regions into the Essex County, where the village of Salem resided in. The refugees basically strained Salem's resources and heightened already existing rivalries between rich and poor families, which goes along with, as I mentioned before, the long-growing social tensions between people. So in 1692, Salem's first ordained minister, Samuel Parris's daughter, Elizabeth, who was 9 years old at the time, and his niece, Abigail Williams, who was 11, started having fits. A local doctor blamed the fits on the supernatural, which would be like magic, ghosts, spirits, and obviously witchcraft. 12-year-old Anne Putnam Jr. also began to experience similar episodes. So on February the 29th, the girls confessed three women for afflicting them. These women were Tibuta, an enslaved Caribbean woman working for the Paris family, Sarah Good, a homeless beggar, and Sarah Osborne, a poor elderly woman. All three women began to be interrogated on the 1st of March in 1692 for several days, and Osborne and Good claimed innocence during these interrogations. But Tibuta confessed that the devil came to me and bade me serve him, describing images of dogs, red cats, yellow birds, and a tall man with white hair, who wanted her to sign his book. She admitted that she had signed the book and claimed that there were other witches trying to destroy the Parisians. So this caused chaos into the colonies because in that time most colonists were Parisians. So this led to a flurry of accusations which continued throughout the following months, and charges against Martha Corey, a loyal member of the church in Salem, increased this chaos, this havoc in the community, because the colonists thought that if she could be a witch, if she being a loyal member of the church, anybody really could be a witch. This fear of the witches even caused Sarah Good's 4-year-old daughter Dorothy to be interrogated, and she was eventually her short responses were even viewed as a confession, which is crazy because who would think that a 4-year-old would be would have any connection, would have any knowledge about witchcraft. They even barely know what they're doing, you know? But anyways, the questioning got more serious as the colony's deputy governor, Thomas Stanford, and his assistants began to attend the hearings, and dozens of people from Salem and other Massachusetts villages began to be brought in for questioning. On May 27th, 1692, Governor William Phips ordered the establishment of a special court of oyer, which means to hear, and terminer, which means to decide, for Suffolk, Essex, and Middlesex counties. This eventually led to the first accused witch in the Salem Witch Trials. So the first accused witch was Bridget Bishop, who claimed that I am as innocent as the child unborn. The defense was not very convincing, and Bishop was eventually found guilty and was hanged on June 10th, being the first person to be hanged on what was later called Gallows Hill. A few days later, after the court, Cotton Mather, a respected minister, wrote a letter asking that the court not allow incorporeal evidence, or basically in evidence that is not material. The courts did not listen and sentenced 5 hangings in July, 5 more in August, and 8 more in September. The father of Mather, Ian Crease Mather, the then president of Howard, condemned the use of spectral evidence, that it were better that 10 suspected witches should escape than one innocent person be condemned, which I will get back to it. I will get back to that conclusion. Governor Phipps responded to this and by prohibiting further arrests and releasing many accused witches. Partially, he did this due to the letters, but also due to his own wife being questioned as she was suspected as being a witch. He also dissolved the Court of Oyer and Terminer on October 29th, replacing it with the Superior Court of Judicature, which disallowed spectral evidence and condemned only 3 out of 56 defendants, which were a lot less than those being accused. And by May 1693, Phipps had pardoned all those with witchcraft charges, but it really didn't matter since the damage had already been done. 19 men and women had been hanged on Gallows Hill, and at least 5 of the accused died in jail. Giles Corey, Martha's husband, had also been stoned to death after refusing to submit himself to trial on September 1692, and bodily harm was caused. Was used against animals, 2 dogs being killed by colonists who believed that they were linked to the devil. This is basically the end of the witch trials, and years after, some involved in the accusations, like Judge Samuel Sewall and accuser Ann Putnam, the 12-year-old who accused Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tuwita of inflicting them on having their fits, publicly confessed error and guilt. On January 14, 1697, the Massachusetts General Court also ordered a day of fasting and self-thought over the Salem incident as a way of repenting and thinking over the events that had happened. Then, in 1702, the court declared the trials unlawful, and in 1711, the court passed a bill restoring the rights and the good names of the accused, as well as granting a total of 600 euros to their heirs. But even though after this, it was not until 250 years later, in 1957, that Massachusetts formally apologized for the Salem Witch Trials. After this, not many people began to writing works about the trial, and as well as doing artwork and literature about the Salem Witch Trials. I thought it might be interesting to add that there is no clear cause of the witch hunt. Some modern-day theories state that the accusers suffered from ergotism, which is a condition caused by eating foods contaminated with the fungus ergot. These the symptoms of this include spasm, vomiting, delusions, and hallucinations, which were the symptoms that those who had been having their fits had in that time. Another theory, people believe that the Salem Witch Trials emphasize combinations of church politics, family feuds, and hysterical children, all of which unfolded in a vacuum of political authority, as Encyclopedia Britannica notes. But all in all, there's no clear cause of the witch hunt. That is all I have for you guys, and I hope you guys learned something new about the Salem Witch Trials. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good day.